All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are getting ready. So, as you can see, our next matchup here is going to be Firewall taking on Inovacio. Hope I pronounced that as well as
I
possible.
honestly couldn't tell you.
I try my best. It's one of the biggest issues I encountered when I became a caster for the EU side. Is there's a lot of things like that.
There's a lot of names.
Nothing will ever be quite as interesting as Cookie.
How did that one even come up?
I don't know. That's always kind of been my go-to when I talk about the pronunciation difficulties I had with learning things. It's like, oh, that's pronounced Cookie, you say, huh? Really?
If you say so.
I guess, but in any event, so we're just getting ready. We're waiting for the teams to pop in here and get things started. But in any event, yeah, so that is our next game, Firewall and Inovacio. Really quick, before we get into things, I did want to thank everybody who has donated so far. I did see a couple donation messages pop up during the last series. Thank you all so much for your contributions. As you know, your contributions go directly towards Rocket League Central. They go towards the prize pools, they go towards the operation of the tournament, and all the other stuff that happens here. Not just this tournament, but anything else that we try and do here. It's all because of your help. So whatever you do, whatever we do here on our end to try and, make things happen, it's all building towards bigger and bigger and better things for Rocket League Central, and just for Rocket League in general as a competitive esports scene. So we're certainly doing our best, but I want to thank everybody who donates, who has subscribed. You can also subscribe to this channel, $5 a month, and be a part of that. So yeah, man, that's just really appreciative.
It is. We're seeing just how great the community is.
Oh yeah.
It's phenomenal. It really is. And I've been a part of it for a long time. Everyone that's come in, I have met very few people that I can't turn around and just say, I like you. Great people all around.
They are. I've been a part of this, not nearly as long as probably you have or a lot of other people have. I got my start with Rocket League maybe a week after. I learned Rocket League existed a week after it came out. So that's been the length of my time and my involvement here. But it has been a really great time. So I'm very excited. Just to see where else it goes. I've talked a little bit about this before, but yeah. Just see where it goes. That's all it's about right now. So, I guess right now we're just trying to make sure everything's in order in order to get started here. I'm going to take just a brief moment while we're kind of sorting out all the little bits and pieces to, I guess, at least recap very briefly a bit about the Pro League itself, because I know we could kind of talk about that. Not that. Oops. Let's talk about the Pro League. There we go. That's what I wanted to show you. So while we're getting all of our lobby situations sorted, I talked about what this is all about. This is the EU Open Bracket, Open Qualifier. The top 8 teams of this tournament will be playing in next week's Qualifier tournament, where the top 4 teams out of that will earn a spot in the Pro League itself, which starts 2 weeks after that. But as you can see, this is kind of how the breakdown happens. It goes down through the top 8 teams, and then we go into the actual qualifiers, which go down to the top 4, and then those 4 teams, plus 2 invite teams, will make it into the Pro League itself. So, that is how that looks. But I think we are ready to get back into action. Here we go. Game 1 of this series is underway. So let's get to it. Firewall in blue, Inovacio in orange. I'm gonna try to remember that.
We're gonna evolve that one throughout this series.
I almost wanted to say Invocacio, but I don't think it's like I'm thinking it has something to do with innovation. It sounds like
I think you've got it right.
that sounds like the word it's supposed to be. So
You know, if people start getting on your back, just realize that I agree with you, which probably means that you're wrong.
hey, that's okay. I'll take what I can get. But in any event, yeah, Firewall and Inovacio in this early round matchup. So I'm not familiar with Inovacio, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. There's going to be a lot of teams in this tournament I'm probably not going to be familiar with. But hey, opening up the scoring.
So when they're like this, you're going to have to know who they are.
Cooney getting that nice play off the wall. They couldn't make any kind of defensive stop in there. Opening up the scoring nice and early here in Game 1. Granted, this is the same situation we saw out of Titan Rockets in the last series, and we all know how that turned out. So it is Game 1, and we all know how Game 1s work out. They can be very different from the rest of the series. Just put it that way.
Yes, well, that's the thing. That's the reason why we play best of 5, because playing ranked, you'll always lose to a team and just say, but we were better. This is your chance to prove it. You don't lose 3 games out of 5 to a team that you're worse than. I mean, better than.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't lose to a team that you're not... If you're better than a team, then you should be able to beat them. But, you know, Rocket League is also one of those games that's like any given day. You know, any given day, any team can beat any other team, and we've seen it quite a bit. And, oh, here's a nice play forward by Inovacio, and Cooney again opening up the scoring. This is really nice. Take a look at how he just steals that from in front of the defender and plays it all the way forward on that breakaway. It's very nice. And Cooney wants Yemen to mention him, so Yemen, if you're still there, now's your chance.
Yeah, give that boy some love. He's doing well right now. He deserves it. That's 2 goals in 2 minutes.
It's a good showing, and he's looked very impressive while doing it, picking up off of a nice rebound on that first goal and then that breakaway on the second one. And I did see mentioned in the chat that people thought Firewall was going to be dominant here, and there's still time. You know, I'll give you that. There's still plenty of time for Firewall to emerge, and they are one of those teams that I am familiar with in the sense of I have always kind of had Firewall on my radar when it comes to the top teams in Europe, and it's just been a matter of if they can crack that sort of top 10 ceiling, you know?
It's always been a slight struggle for them. They've always been just on the outside for months and months and months now, and it's only got more difficult because there's more teams. But Firewall, a very active team, they compete lots and lots throughout the week.
They do, and Cooney again.
Right now, Cooney's just on fire right now.
Talk about the emergence of a star, and we might be seeing it here. Cooney is just putting on a show. 3 goals within the first 3 minutes of this game, first minute and a half, technically. And off to a tremendous start, so a good showing here for Inovacio thus far. And I will say, yeah, I mean, as far as Firewall goes, they're one of those teams that, despite the growth of the EU scene, are still within that conversation. Maybe they're not quite as high as they used to be, but they're still there, you know, and I think that's good. They didn't fall completely out. They're not like one of many, many teams that have since disbanded entirely. I think we've had a lot of teams in the scene over the last couple weeks.
I think that's one of the more impressive things that you can actually say to a team, that they have gone through these struggles, that, you know, not seeing a huge amount of success, but still sticking together.
Yeah, you know, they're either figuring out adjustments to their roster and, what a stop by Beethoven. Wow.
That would have been an exclamation point on CUNY's stream debut for the Rocket League Central.
But it's still not over, and
there it is.
Utterly relentless here for Inovacio.
I mean, that's not the exclamation point that last goal would have been, but that's at least a full stop.
That's still pretty, that's still pretty solid. Coming in and kind of getting very aggressive on that goal right in the face of Beethoven to put that goal away. I mean, this whole game, though, has been quite the exclamation point in and of itself. I mean, this is just, you know, 4 goals, all scored by Cooney so far, and a very nice showing out of Inovacio. And here's another shot, tries to take it up off the air. He's going to play it off the back wall. Tries to set it up for his teammate, but they're still keeping the aggression going. And I think that is, that's the big takeaway here. It's just continuing the aggressive play. Final minute, and it's looking like it is definitely going to be Innovacio's game, and I'm a little surprised that Firewall hasn't been able to put anything on net yet. Or at least I should say in net.
That's a huge thing as well. Like, getting a goal at least shows that you were there. You were involved.
Oh, well, Vel tries to play it forward, but
a goal is huge mentally. Because it lets you say, all right, these opponents, they are human. We can beat them. We just have to do this again and again and again and again and again.
No, definitely. And sometimes, when you're this late in the game and it's looking like you're almost certainly not going to ultimately win the game, even just one late goal can help give you that momentum that you need to carry into the next game of the series. It's obviously not something that'll work out in, a deciding game, but, in this game, if they can put one away, it could look pretty good, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. A 4-0 victory for Inovacio to get things started, so...
That's seriously impressive.
That is very impressive. I'm a little bit surprised. I didn't quite expect that. But granted, like I said, I'm not familiar with Inovacio, so this is the type of thing I like to see. Get these teams that kind of start to emerge that maybe you're not familiar with.
Mm-hmm. The only player on here that I am familiar with is CUNY. After that last game, I am really familiar with him. But this is certainly a team that is emerging today, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep this going, because as you said earlier, anyone can do anything in that first game. It's sustaining it for 2 more.
No, exactly. And sometimes it just takes a game for a team to find their bearings and maybe figure out how they want to approach the rest of the game. And we could see that at the Firewall here, but we're going to have to see a little bit more early out of them. And I will say, as it's going so far, not too bad. They're doing a good job of keeping it at least on their opponent's side. Here comes a nice shot forward. Tries to just kind of trickle it in, but no such luck there. Heavy swoops in to make a play on it, but it will not happen here. We'll go on board with Vel, who makes a nice aerial redirect. Going to play it off the wall, but nobody there to help follow it up. So there's a lot of back and forth here. I'm going to switch to the aerial cam just so we can see this, but here comes another attack. Chriswa is going to play it forward, and the scoreline gets opened up again by Inovacio.
Yeah, and this is something that they seem to be looking for at this point. We almost saw CUNY score in his last game. This time it works out, and this just seems to be a little bit of frustration on the side of Firewall. They are overcommitting here.
They are. Oh, but here's a big opening. Oh, almost.
This is 5 unanswered goals by now.
It is, yeah. That is a very important distinction to make. That they have yet to score in this series. Oh, but now, Vel trying to dribble it forward. Oh, and he doesn't completely follow it up. He trusted that that ball was going to go in, and it didn't. I mean, you got to have a little bit of trust in your abilities, but you also got to be able to make sure that you're putting it in. Vel there basically makes a nice stop on his own side. So probably didn't want to make that happen. But, yeah, Inovacio right now, they're still running the show here. They're shutting down these attacks very well. They're not spending a ton of time in terms of time of possession, but I think that's okay.
This is showing the signs of a confident team as well. We saw in the last series when Titan went up in a goal, they immediately turtled up. This is a team that isn't turtling up because they know they can score more.
Right. And that's the approach that you have to take. Some teams, turtling up is okay in some cases. I think if you're having like a very, very contested matchup, what Titan did made sense because they were getting overwhelmed by goals when they didn't turtle up. The only problem with them is that they weren't able to respond further and actually come back from being in a deficit. Whereas in this case, clearly Inovacio has the diversity or flexibility to both play strong defense and know that they have the confidence to come back offensively as well. And we're 8 minutes without a single goal by Firewall here. This is really, really surprising. And another one goes a little off the corner there. Switch to the aerial cam so we can actually see this a bit. Heavy tries to play it forward. He's going to get it past most people, but Chrisois will do a nice clear into the corner, tries to get it around. Vela's going to keep it, sends the ball across the goal, but Cooney stops it. And now it looks like Firewall trying to turn their heat up a bit and apply a bit more pressure onto net. But it's not going on the net. I think that's the problem right now.
Yes, this is it's looking a little bit hit and hope by this stage. They are just hitting the ball from far and trying to chase it, and it might work, but it's not exactly the sign of a team that is believing in their teammates to get to it and sort of set up an actually well-worked play.
Yeah, we're not seeing that well-constructed offensive strategy. It's really just put the ball in the air in the orange side and try to put it on net, you know? And that won't get them very far. I'll be perfectly honest with you. If that's all they got... Oh, what? Oh. What was that?
That is an angle!
What kind of shot was this? I gotta go on board with Dynamo here, who hits this ball coming in the opposite direction and sends it behind himself. That is just the kind of impressiveness that...
That is hard to hit in training mode. That's even harder to hit when you've got two players from Firewall charging at you. Wow!
That is a momentum changer. Oh, but Vel, finally, just over 9 minutes off the clock, and Vel finally breaks the scoreless sheet and gives Firewall a goal. Unfortunately, it has come after the second goal for Inovacio.
Yeah, but that's finally what we needed to see from Firewall. They finally actually linked up, and Heavy set that up beautifully. Oh!
Wow, okay. Firewall has
when it rains,
something
it
out here.
falls.
Good play off the kickoff here, and just drills into the net, and they try so hard to get back in time. But that was just a big kickoff. A little bit of a lapse on the kickoff there. Well, I don't even want to say a lapse, because it wasn't really a mistake. It was just they both clashed on the kickoff. The ball didn't go anywhere. Heavy moved in to attack it, and the other two players were getting boost. So it just was a bad luck play, really.
Yeah, usually the players that are getting boost can get back just in time for that, and that was just a situation of Cooney was probably the one that called it, and he was further away than he really could be in order to get that save.
Yeah, so unfortunately it did not work out, but we're still now in a tie game. But I think Firewall feeling a lot better now after a very nice bit of goal scoring there.
Yeah,
so we might be headed to overtime here.
I mean, just to break that mental block of getting goals is absolutely huge for them. But they need to win this now. Like, there's one mental block down of not being able to score. There's another mental block called trying to win a game.
Yeah, but now it's overtime, and overtimes are so much more interesting because it is a goal-and-goal situation. As we say that, it nearly comes to an abrupt end. But yeah, it is that golden goal situation. One more goal will decide this game. And I haven't seen a lot of offensive attack out of Inovacio in the last few minutes of this game. It's just been constant attack.
From this sudden emergence of Firewall. And honestly, you know, they should be. Firewall looking a ton better, and they actually seem to be playing as a team rather than as three individuals.
Oh, Cooney tried to put it on net, but it just sort of floats across.
That's
Here's a
open.
good setup. Oh, and Dynamo gets the game-winning goal there. We'll catch this one on the replay here. Plays it off the wall. That looked a little risky because two players were going for it, and I was wondering if it would have been, you know, directed in the wrong place. Put it that way.
I think it was good that the first player ended up doing a backflip because I don't think he actually had the angle. I mean, he was a little bit too close for that, but that was all started by Firewall just committing two people to the defense. They needed someone to sit back on the line. And that sort of thing doesn't happen because as soon as that ball comes in, they clear it.
They do. And, you know, as we've seen so far, it's playing out fairly well for Inovacio, and they are... It was a much closer game this time, at least. So we can give Firewall credit for that. You know, maybe a little bit of luck on their side in terms of that second tying goal. But still, you know, that's...
Yeah. Well, it seems like Firewall is starting to finally turn the screws and figure out what they actually need to do. They need to do it a little bit quicker, though, because if they lose any more, they're out. There is no double elimination in this week. This is you win or you go home.
That's it.
There's no in between.
No, there's no second chance. I mean, it is a big bracket. There are a lot of teams who want to be involved in this, and it is all for a spot to try and get a spot in the Pro League. So, I mean, if that doesn't tell you just how valuable people feel the Pro League is, that there are so many teams who just want to try to get a chance to play in Pro League, you know, it really says a lot about what this is all about here. And I will say, now is the time for Firewall to try and turn some things around. Let's go on board with Heavy, who got that very nice, maybe lucky if you want to call it lucky, goal. That one, nicely put on net, but Dynamo stops it. There was no luck there, just skill. And as it stands right now, still a clean sheet very early in the game, though, but Firewall certainly is looking much more aggressive here.
Yeah, they're playing the ball off the back of the back wall now and looking to go for the rebound almost immediately. And that's sort of what they need to do. We saw in Extremis play this style last game, and it completely tore a team apart. That's the type of style that really asks, what are your nerves like right now? What can you do? Are you going to freeze? And they need to keep it going.
They do. I mean, they're... Oh, man. Sorry. The cross there gets cleared out, but... You know, the one thing I'm seeing now that we weren't seeing in the first game was just a significantly more aggression out of Firewall. And so many more attacks on net. And even though we're still not necessarily seeing a lot of well-thought or developed plays, they're not quite as panicky either. Because that's what we were seeing in that first game, was just so many like wild swings at the net. Like they basically just grabbed a bat and started swinging it wildly in the hopes that they'd hit the ball. You know? But
they need to make sure that they don't overcommit, though. It's something that happens a lot when you start falling into this, of it settles down and two players on the team think they can go for the rebound. They need to make sure they avoid that here.
Yeah, they have to keep playing smart, you know, keep being aware of what Inovacio can do, of what they have done so far. And there's a nice shot on net that Vel has to stop, but he doesn't get the rebound. A good play on net again. So good responsiveness out of both teams, offensively and defensively, to attempt and prevent anything from happening there. Now Beethoven tries to get the clear, but Dynamo is going to keep it on net. We'll go on board with Dynamo for just a few moments here as Inovacio goes on the attack. But here comes Firewall trying to play this forward. Goes into the corner. Now Vel tries for a nice little cross there. And I think that was Beethoven who tried to put it away, but couldn't actually get what he needed to get there. Ball is spending a lot of time in the orange zone.
They seem happy with it, though. They almost seem as if they're encouraging it, because they're not sending people quickly for this. They are happy to soak up this pressure.
I think they are, and they're also trying to be careful. You know, you don't want to send too much forward. Oh, Cooney! Wow.
Hello! Where did that come from?
Brilliant goal here. Gets played along the wall. He tracks it the whole way and just drills it into the lower corner at the last moment. That is just outstanding. Very nice awareness. This Cooney guy.
I'm fully impressed by him.
I am. I want to see much more out of this guy. This has been a very solid performance. But, so the clean sheet is broken, and it's late in the game, so... Ooh, a little bit
this
of
is panic time now for Firewall.
It is. They are on the cusp. You know, I'm sure they want to keep going here. I certainly expected them to keep going here. Frankly, I kind of expected them to be one of the teams to potentially qualify. You know, I certainly could have placed them in that final 8. They're a very likely team to do that, but I'm a little bit surprised. But, you know, that's the kind of stuff I wanted to see, is to see some teams who maybe I wasn't familiar with start to really challenge the teams that I am familiar with. But the last thing we need, of course, is another European team to start to emerge, because, you know, not like we don't have enough of those already.
I think we've already gone past this point. This team's already emerged.
They have. Now it's just a matter of seeing how much further they can get.
Let's hope our pronunciation was correct.
I think it was. It seems
we're going to see a lot of this team.
We're not done seeing them, so now I think what I really want to see out of Inovacio is what else can they do? Who else can they beat? But with the way they're playing, I think the sky may be the limit a little bit here. Kuni is certainly the all-star, at least of this series, and I'm eager to see what the other players can really do and what kind of stuff they can deliver. But so far, so good. Final 20 seconds going off the clock here. And a nice 2-goal lead for Inovacio might be all that they need. I think we're pretty much done here.
Yeah, it is certainly looking like it. We were looking for teams to emerge today. They have emerged in the biggest way possible.
Indeed they have. 3-0. A complete series sweep for Inovacio sends Firewall packing. They are done here today. I am a little surprised.
I am shocked.
To say the least.
I mean, it's one thing to beat Firewall. It's another thing to sweep them, and sweep them convincingly. That was beyond impressive, and wow, welcome to another team that we now have to look out for.
We do. We really do. And I want to... so, I guess Dynamo wants me to make sure I'm showing him love, too. Love for everybody on Inovacio, to be honest. I mean, that was just a very solidly played series of games. Even when it got a little out of hand in Game 2, they still managed to recover and take care of business. So, props to them, for sure. But a very nice showing out of Inovacio. I'm eager to see where they go from here. That's really all there is to it. Just I want to see what else they do.
I would have to see where they currently are in the bracket to see if they've got any more dragons to go through, like big dragons that we were looking out for. Firewall, I honestly, I'd have to have a look. But Firewall are definitely one of the larger ones they're going to come across when it comes to qualifying. Obviously, everything past quarterfinals is going to be playing for the serious pride. So that is something that they've got to work out for. But quarterfinals is the big thing for them.
It is, yeah. That's where the decision gets cut. That's where the cutoff is. You make it into the quarterfinals. You're guaranteed a spot in next week's tournament. And, from that point on, it's all about, all about ranking, or not ranking, but seeding, and also ranking to a sense. Power rankings and things like that are going to be affected by how well teams play throughout this tournament and next week's tournament and everything like that. So it's a good chance to eke out a few more big wins, show the world what you're capable of. And, even though making it to the top 8 of this tournament is all that's required, winning it can be a nice little ego boost.
Winning it's a huge ego boost for this lot. There are none of the larger teams. This is the best opportunity for some of these teams to get that first win of a proper big tournament. Mm-hmm. A lot of the teams that we normally see take it, we're not going to see any Flipside, we're not going to see any SK. Those are the two teams that if they were in a tournament, we'd say one of those two. None of them this week. This is a chance for these upper mid-tier teams to finally emerge and show that they are just on the cusp. And then next week, they get to show that we're not only on the cusp, we are in there.
Yeah, they are, and that's going to be their big opportunity. So we know that we're moving into a round of 16 match next. We are moving in to watch Comrade Gaming take on Interstellar Overdrive. Comrade, of course, is comprised of the former members of Galaxy Gaming Immortals, who are now a part of Comrade Gaming. So we're going to head into that game, and the winner of that will be our first qualified team.
Wait, Comrade are a former team of
Comrade
Galaxy.
Were Galaxy Gaming Immortals.
And I believe that Interstellar is now Galaxy Gaming because they merged.
Yes. Interstellar.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with.
Yes, especially with Galaxy Gaming, they are constantly changing.
Yeah, but we do know that. Yeah, we do know Galaxy Gaming has merged with Interstellar, so those teams are now part of Interstellar. I think Totality is no longer a team. and now Immortals is part of Comrade. Or yeah, it's hard to keep up with.
It is,
It
like
is
we said,
really-
it's a hugely in-depth roster of teams that we have to keep up with. So,
Because the problem lies too in that, this is such a young scene and such a new scene that so many teams are still figuring themselves out a bit, so to say. And you've got a lot of players who aren't necessarily just hanging out and doing things. They just have to actually, do their best in terms of seeing if they can actually play.
oh, you joined a team. We're going to have to recreate this.
Oh, all right. Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Boo, Chris with his boo.
That's all right. We'll probably have to recreate it anyway, just to make sure we get the proper teams in here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this game because I'm very familiar with Galaxy Gaming Immortals. Overdrive, I don't know yet. I'll have to see who's actually a part of it, because that's a problem I have too. Is that I'm not necessarily familiar with team names, but I'm familiar with the players. Because
Yeah.
I've seen the players and they're probably, on other teams, or they used to go by a different name, or who knows what. But anyway, all right. Well, I think with that being said, we're going to take a quick little break here so we can get this next game ready for you. We'll be back very soon with the round of 16, where we're going to figure out who our first qualified team is for next week's tournament. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few moments.